Welcome into the roundtable. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. We are talking a little bit about Derek Carr. Some news came out. Raiders are looking to potentially trade him, and if they can't try to find a trade partner, they are going to cut him. So quite an interesting turn of events there in Las Vegas.
Dude, you know the worst part about this is my dad's a Raiders fan, and for Christmas, maybe 5 years ago or whenever it was, I got him a like this thing from the Raiders, and it was the Carr jersey in the locker, the Khalil Mack jersey in the locker, an Amari Cooper jersey in the locker, and then
Nice.
it might have been Josh Jacobs. I don't remember who the other one was, but now it's fucking useless. It's like
Useless.
I mean, is that the worst Christmas gift of all time? Because the year I got it was the year Mac left or Cooper
Mm.
left, whichever one of the two left first. So he's just got this thing sitting at his house right now, and none of those guys are going to play for the Raiders in about 3 months.
Well, it could be some memorabilia. So maybe you gave him a nice little cash value there. So I
Hey,
don't
does
know.
anybody want this Raiders memorabilia from the year they went 7-9?
So Derek Carr, obviously some news out of Las Vegas. They're looking to move on, and whether they go get a quarterback in the offseason, whether they draft somebody, that's to be seen. But what we do know is they're looking to move Derek Carr if they can. Now, right now, details. Current contract right now is 3 years left with $121.5 million. 65 million of that is guaranteed. So that goes through the 2025 season. So
Holy
if
shit!
somebody wants to trade for him, they're gonna have to pick up this contract. 2023, $32.9 million cap hit. 2024, that jumps up to $41.9 million. And then 2025, that's $41.3 million. So
Do you know
quite
what the dead
substantial.
cap moves to in those later years as far as
I
cuts?
don't. I don't. But if the Raiders do cut him this year, it's only a dead cap hit of 5.6. So like not
Gotcha.
bad at
So it's
all.
probably moving to zero pretty quick.
It's probably moving to zero quick because I think his guaranteed is front loaded. So little details there, but now I'm looking at me like $42 million. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and that's why I ask about the dead cap number because uh, you can look at this one of two ways. Like if Derek Carr goes somewhere and then looks like 2017 Derek Carr magically, then he's on a really good contract. But if he goes somewhere and he stinks, then you can get out of it much easier than the Colts or the Commanders have found themselves with Carson Wentz, for example.
Now, obviously, why are they looking to move on from Derek Carr? The era has not gone well since Carr's been at the helm of the Raiders. Playoffs twice, nothing beyond that. Had a couple good years, a couple All Pros, but was finished third in MVP voting, I believe, in 2016. And it's just kind of fizzled out. Now, not all of it's his fault. Now, I'm a Carr critic, but not all of it's his fault. Obviously, it's organizational, but he hasn't been big when they needed him to be big. I don't think Tyson, and maybe that's unfair to him. But I can definitely see why they're moving off him. And me personally, if I'm running the Raiders, I would definitely move off of Derek Carr.
And they're going to. I'm not nearly as down on him as you. I'm not high on him either, but I will say, like you say, is organizational, but I think that argument only extends to like 2019, right? When it's like, oh my God, can you believe what the Raiders are doing to Derek Carr? And then since then, like even this year, it's like, look what they did for him, and then the product that they got that was put on the field. It's harder to blame the organization now that we have proof. It was a common argument during his really good years. It was like, oh my God, this team sucks. You can't make that excuse for him anymore. And that's why, to me, a lot of these things, like I'm hearing people talk about, he could go to somewhere with an offensive coordinator or a head coach vacancy, and they can kind of pick Derek Carr. I don't think that any of these candidates have Derek Carr number one on their list. There's not a chance.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So let's talk about it right now. Potential destinations. Now, I have 7 written down that I think could be legit possibilities with 2 question marks, maybe depending on the situation. Let's start with the one that everybody's going to talk about, Tyson, and that's the New York Jets. Um, Here's what they have going for them. Now, these numbers are from overthecap.com. Roughly right now, the Jets will have $3.6 million in cap space. That's expected to go up. They have quarterback questions. Zach Wilson didn't work out. Mike White, he's not the answer there. And they have the 13th overall pick. I don't think they can afford to go draft a quarterback in this draft this year. I think they're definitely in the market. Owner says they're interested in breaking the bank to get a QB. This seems most logical to me. I actually think this would be a good fit for a Jets franchise that hasn't had good quarterback play and has not really been able to keep the drama of inside the locker room off the tabloids.
And like we were joking last week, and you are a Carr hater, but even you said Derek Carr would be the best quarterback to play for the Jets in 100 years. Like, it's not even
Well,
close.
that's
what I'm saying. Like, that's how far back we're going. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. To me, I really feel like timeline wise, I don't know if it makes sense. And everybody's talking about this, but the Jets offense is super young. Like, everybody's really young. I don't even know if they were to go out and get a Derek Carr, if that catapults them over the Bills in division. Because right now, I know the records were different, but they seem on paper better set up for the future than the New England Patriots do. We have no idea what's going on in Miami, whether Tua's like, they're the center of the concussion talk, right? They're like, we don't know what's happening. But to me, like, this is the obvious one for everybody. And I think this might be a Jimmy G spot. I think this might get filled. And that was an unintentional pun, but that's an hilarious. And I'm going to use that every time I can. I'm going with, I think that Derek Carr is going to, and he has a no trade clause, by the way. So he has the right to say no to any of these organizations, which limits the pool. And the Jets are certainly one that you would assume he'd want to play for.
Next one that I have written down, the Atlanta Falcons. Now, you already floated the idea you could potentially see them being aggressive for Lamar Jackson when it gets to that point. And why is that the case? Well, they have a potential of $61.8 million in cap space projected. Now, this could go up if the cap increases. This is just based on a projected number from over the cap. Desmond Ridder, they drafted last year. He stinks. Like, he's not good. He's not better than Derek Carr. And they have the 7th overall pick this season. Do they want to draft a quarterback in this class? Not sure. So there's questions in Atlanta. They need a quarterback. They need to restart this thing and have their franchise guy. I don't know if Derek Carr is the answer for what Arthur Smith wants to do with that offense.
It doesn't seem like a great fit. I will say, like I was saying last week, that when you invest as heavily as they have in pass catchers in the draft, at a certain point you have to go out and get a quarterback to at least see what you have in the receivers. The issue, and I should have said this in the first one, but the number one bugaboo for me with the Derek Carr thing is if he's going to be traded, it's going to be soon. Like, it's going to be February, 10th, let's say, because it has to be done before the 15th, I believe. And that, I think that the Falcons and the Jets both might want to see what is going on. Like, how is this offseason going to shake out? Because is Aaron Rodgers retiring? What does that do to the quarterback market? Where's Tom Brady go? There's a whole bunch of other options that maybe you don't like more, but you have to do your due diligence to wait. And I think the Falcons are moving in the right direction. It feels like a year ago, this would have been something they were all over.
One that everybody's, kind of tongue in cheek applying this to and tying him to the Colts. Now, approximately $9.8 million in cap space. Matt Ryan's their current QB, and they have the 4th overall pick. I think they should draft the QB if they have any smarts. And Chris Ballard, you never know with that guy. This is a joke. I can't see them making this mistake again. I'd scratch them off the list, but it's a discussion point I wanted to bring up.
If they do this again, dude, like, relegate them. They got to play Bama, Georgia, those guys. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I can't watch this anymore. You cannot imagine being an Indianapolis Colts fan. And this would be the best one that they've traded for, by the way, probably. Right. But you still, like, this would piss people off. It wouldn't even make them excited. It would be a huge upgrade over what they currently have, and everybody would be angry at you.
Well, like, especially their own fan base. Like,
you just can't do it, man. You can't do this 4 times in a row because Big Phil Riv.
Phil Riv. Yeah, you can't do it.
Oh, my goodness.
I want to get your thought on this. I wrote down the Texans as a potential one. Now, we know that they have the 2nd overall pick and they're eyeing one of the QBs in this class. But let's say they don't want to go that route and they want to go established. They have $38.2 million in projected cap space. Davis Mills, not their guy. I think they're going to move on from him. I think if you're the Texans, you have to draft the QB in this class, because what's the point in signing Derek Carr for these 3 years? Because then you're going to miss out on Caleb Williams or Drake May next year. Like, I think you hit the restart button now, but just something interesting because they have the cap space and maybe they want to go an established route.
And it'll be interesting to see who ends up as head coach, because that'll sway a lot of this. But if the front office were to fall in love with the Jalen Carter or Will Anderson there at 2, and just think like this is our guy, this guy's generational, because both those guys have that potential that's in their range of outcomes, let's say. that would be the only scenario where I think that they would be like, we're comfortable taking Derek Carr. We don't love CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, whoever doesn't go one. We love both these guys or one of these guys. We see it every year that a team, and we see it with the Texans actually a ton. It's like a team that needs a quarterback takes one look at the roster and goes, man, if we draft Bryce Young and then we're 4 years down the line, like we need help everywhere. So to me, they would be a sneaky spot actually for Derek Carr, and it would be cool because his brother almost got killed there weekly for like 5 years.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, I guess he'd have to be traded there. I don't think he would sign there. So I don't know who's going to.
Do you think he would say yes to the Texans?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I
either,
don't.
Especially with Brandon Cooks being like, dude, I got to go.
Yeah, I got to get out of here. I don't think so at all. Now, here's three like kind of longer shots, and mainly it's due to their projected cap space being under the cap so far without the cuts. Panthers have the lowest amount of, or the most available cap space out of these three with 6.3 million below. Sam Darnold's their current QB. They have the 9th overall pick. I don't think they can do this. I mean, you already have done the QB carousel, tried to do it with Baker Mayfield. It didn't work out. I think they'd be crazy to do it. The Titans, $24 million above the cap. They clearly have QB questions. Malik Willis, they drafted. Apparently, Vrabel hates him. Ryan Tannehill, I think, is on the way out. And they have the 11th overall pick. I don't know if that's enough to get a game changer. This is a win now roster.
No love for Josh Dobbs.
Stuff around. Oh no, I don't. I think honestly, I think they could move stuff around and be aggressive in this sweepstakes. I don't know. I mean, I could see it. And then the last one quickly, here, Tyson, the Saints. Now they're $50 million over the cap hell, and they have QB questions. Like Dalton's not their guy. It seems like they don't like Jameis, and they don't have a first round pick. This doesn't seem to make much sense, but did want to throw them out there as potential.
And I will say this about the Saints. The cap's not real when it comes to New Orleans Saints. Every single year we look at it and we're like, oh, they have no money. And then they leave the offseason with like 3 of the 4 highest paid players or something. And oftentimes at the same position, you're left confused mostly. But the Saints, like whoever is actually in charge of running the books over there is amazing. Like it's general manager, but it's all the way down to whoever's scouring every last penny. Like the beer probably went up $2.50 this year just so they could afford something like this. I think the Titans and the Saints are the most likely spots for Derek Carr. I know everybody is in love right now with the Jets thing, and to me, I already laid out why I don't really think that makes a ton of sense. The Titans want to be competitive, and Ryan Tannehill has shown you those giant. Ryan Tannehill and Derek Carr aren't that dissimilar as far as like giant spike weeks and then putting up huge stinkers. It just seems like Derek Carr is more reliable, but we say that without the full knowledge of like how Vrabel feels about Tannehill. Like if this is his guy and this is somebody that he loves, maybe he sticks around. But I think Carr probably has a higher ceiling with this offense. He excels with players like Treylon Burks and Okonkwo. So I think that's something to keep in mind. But for me, it really feels like a Saints move. It really feels like, hey man, we're screwed. Like we have to like put a product out on the field and we are dead for the next 3 or 4 years. And you might be thinking, well, why would they trade draft pick? What did they do a year ago? Right? What do they continue to do with these draft picks? The last Saints pick to hit at like a super high level was like Alvin Kamara, and that was a late round steal. And they're really good at the late round stuff. Like you look through their roster and it's a bunch of guys, and you have your first rounders here and there, but those are kind of more tenured players. Chris Olave obviously was awesome, but they traded the King's ransom to go get him. They think they're good, and that's the thing. And that's why I think that this might be a spot that Derek Carr plays, because much like we were saying about a couple teams before the season started this year, the Saints might be overestimating the roster they've put together.
And the last couple ones here before we get out, I have Patriots ? Cardinals ? And the only reason I say Patriots, they have $48 million in cap space. I don't know how sold they are on Mac Jones. Like, we don't really know. So it's just like a question. They do have the 14th overall pick. Could that be used in something to trade? I don't think they'll do that. Like, they have too much value on their first round picks and all that. And the Cardinals ? What? I mean, $17 million cap space. Kyler Murray has a torn ACL. I think he's going to miss this year. And they have the 3rd overall pick. I don't think they're going to go quarterback with that. I don't think they would trade for Derek Carr to be a stopgap for any reason at all, especially picking up this contract just for a 1-year stopgap till Murray comes back either. But wanted to throw those out because those are teams with quarterback questions.
Yeah, and I think it'd be pretty cool to see him play in New England. I think the Cardinals, to me, like if you want to move off of Kyler Murray, then you're going to try to move up from 3, right? You want to get into that top 2 way more than you want to go pay Derek Carr and Kyler Murray at the same time.
Absolutely. That'd be a nightmare. Holy smokes.
Okay. Could you imagine that quarterback room, dude?
Jeez,
that would be so awesome. I wish Hard Knocks was there next year if that happens. Oh, that'd be so funny.
That would be electric.
Derek Carr's like reading the Bible while Kyler's playing COD.
That would be something else. All right, that's going to do it. Our early Derek Carr thoughts with the news coming out. Tons of teams in the quarterback needy situation, or at least with question marks. We will keep you updated on this. Go check out our picks for Super Wildcard Weekend. We'll talk to you guys next time.